Hi there, Mel Houghton here. Welcome to Badassery Central. Today's video is all about how to reclaim your power with grace and compassion. Now, this video I'm sharing in response to something I saw online recently about someone I consider to be an industry leader in this profession, very much in anger, telling people he didn't give a fuck what they'd been through, that their life was their fault. It was very angry and aggressive. And it awoke something in me. If you haven't noticed, this is my first video I've recorded in over a year. It's the first video I've recorded since we found out that my dad's stage 4 brain cancer was terminal, and so I did my best to be of service as much as I could during that time with you and work with the clients I already had. And it's taken me quite a bit of time to work through that. Understandably, he passed away in February this year, and feel confident and empowered enough to speak out and talk about things that can really help empower you in your life. And today's topic, this is kind of the, all right, Mel, you got to get yourself out there again one. So I'm going to do my best to keep it focused on what you need to do and stay as much out of the rant as possible. From my experience, it doesn't help someone to come out of their disempowered stories by yelling at them. Yeah, they might be like, if they're really into the rah-rah masculine hustle, they'll be like, yeah, it's my fault, I can do something different with it. Yeah, he doesn't give a fuck, that's cool. But they'll go home and not much has changed. They'll still keep getting caught into the loop of the old disempowering stories. And there is a reason why you're telling the story that you're telling, and that actually needs to be honored in order for you to change it. Now, just saying stop it isn't, if you could have stopped it, you would have already done it. A lot of my work focuses really deeply on helping people come out of disempowering stories, self-sabotage, addictions, behaviors that aren't really honoring of who you really are. It is the path to lastingly come out of addiction and self-sabotage, which is what our Fab Mastermind program is. And from my experience, yelling at people and telling them that you don't give a fuck what they've been through doesn't help them heal or come out of a disempowering story or reclaim their power. And what this actually tells me is this person was very much in anger. Now, I don't want to use this as a tool to say to get all judgy pants on him either. My point here is, let's look at this for what we can learn from it. And for example, someone who's in their own anger and ranting, that is a sign that that person's actually in the process of reclaiming their own power in this area, because you have to actually go through anger to get back to power. So this person's doing the work and getting angry because he's not quite in his power yet. Real power isn't angry. It feels powerful. It can feel almost a bit like it sometimes, because you've actually got to go through anger to get to power. That's normal. If there's anywhere in your life you've been victimized or disempowered or wronged or treated unjustly, there's going to be anger, because anger accompanies any situation where you are made to feel powerless. That's normal. You go through the anger to get to the power. So this was just this person being very transparent about where they're at on their own journey and going through their own anger to get back to their power. My experience has been that, again, there is a way for you to reclaim your power without being yelled at and told that your experience isn't valid. What you've been through, my experience has been, if you're telling a story in some way that you aren't where you want to be because of XYZ, or you're telling a story about, what happened to you in the past, we all have stories about what happened to us in the past. It's understandable, and a lot of people in the world have been victimized and have been treated unjustly. And so my journey and my take on this is not to negate that. We actually need to work with that and actually remember that right now you have a choice. You can either keep telling that same story, or you can choose differently from here on out. So my experience, reclaiming your power, is about reclaiming your choices rather than just being yelled at. Okay? So how do you reclaim your choices? It's a journey, and the first step, I'm going to give you 3 things. First step is really to pay attention to where you're actually placing your power. And if you feel like, for example, you're not where you want to be, or you're telling a story for the way you were treated perhaps by your parents growing up, that's okay. Own your stories. Just don't use that as an excuse not to get what you want right now. Makes sense? If you're saying it from a disempowered place, it's like, I'm not where I want to be because of what happened to me. Whereas an empowered adult says, here's what happened, here's how I felt about it, and here's what I've chosen to do with it. Same situation, different perspective. So the real key is to help people reclaim your power is to actually treat what they've been through with compassion, teach them that they have a choice with grace, and also give them healthy boundaries, because oftentimes if they've been taught to believe they're powerless in some way, or they've been unwrongly treated or abused, they're going to have a boundary violation there. And then what happens is they don't know where their own boundaries are, so then they don't know where yours are. And so what tends to happen is the very thing that happened to them, they will then go and do to others, disrespect other people's boundaries. Makes sense? And cling to the stories that kept them safe. So our real work as helping people come out of this is to have compassion for what they've been through, with grace, remind them that right now they have a choice, and to set healthy boundaries so that they know where the line is, and it teaches them through example how to have healthy boundaries themselves. So it's a much more elegant way of handling disempowerment and bringing people out of them, rather than yelling at someone, or rather than what a lot of people do is jump in and try and save them. What this approach actually does is you stand in your own ground as the empowered adult that you are, and you say to someone who's telling a disempowered story, here's a rope, grab hold of it, pull yourself up, I am here, but I'm not going to jump in here in this quicksand with you. Makes sense? Because all that does is then create 2 victims. Makes sense? You got to ground yourself in your empowered perspective and invite people up to it. Okay? That's empowerment. That's grace. That's allowing this to come. Holding reverence for what they've been through, as well as holding reverence for what they're truly capable of becoming. And remembering that yelling at someone is rarely the way to get them to change their behavior. And also jumping in and trying to save them from it is also rarely the way to get them to change their behavior. So if you want, share in the comments below this video, what did you learn from this? What did you learn about empowering yourself with grace and compassion? And what are you going to choose to do both in your own life where you're telling stories that are disempowering, or if you work with people and they're telling a story that's disempowering, how can you handle that with a little bit more grace and compassion? Okay, let me know what you take away with this. I'm sure I'll record another video very soon. Take care, and remember, the true power to transform your life lies in your own hands. Claim it like a freaking badass. Take care. Bye-bye.